Well, for more on the election in Iraq, we can now talk to Sabah al-Mukhtar, president of the Arab Lawyers Association, who joins us live from London. Mr. al-Mukhtar, thank you very much for joining us. Now, many are calling this election a test of democracy in the country. But is democracy really possible in the midst of bombings and mortar fire?
Well, this is one of the things which the West is trying to tell most of the developing countries, that democracy means election. It doesn't matter whether you don't have rule of law, you don't have a government in control. We see this in Pakistan and Afghanistan. We see this in Iraq. When the election which is done produces a government which is not pro-West, then it is not democracy, as we've seen, for instance, in Gaza. Democracy, you can only have elections if there is rule of law, if there is a government in control, and that is just not the situation in Iraq. This is not the time to have elections. You cannot have an election when there are at least 100 violent actions every single day in Iraq, regardless whether it's the American bombing or the army or the terrorists or the resistance or whoever. That is not an atmosphere to have an election. But the world insists, the US in particular insists, that they must have election in order so that the US can say, this is a legitimate government, it's been elected by the Iraqis, and this is what we have to support.
Well, whether or not you believe it's right or wrong, an election is taking place today in Iraq, and the Arab Sunni minority, which boycotted the last election, is hoping to be better represented in this new government. Do you think that that could help to ease sectarian conflict in the country?
Well, quite frankly, I think the sectarian divide is increasing, because most of the people who are voting now are voting on sectarian grounds. Because, in fact, there is no choice between the various candidates, whether they are parties or whether they are groups or alliances. None of them has any political program, so nobody is voting for a conservative or a Labour or a socialist or a capitalist they are all voting on the basis that those are Shiites and those are Kurds and those are Arabs, Sunnis and Shiites. The Christians are voting on the basis that they can select Christians rather than Muslims. So it is really a very sectarian kind of an election, simply because there are no programs. Everybody is keen to have the election so that they can get rid of this government which produced absolutely nothing for the Iraqis, not security, no infrastructure, no water, no electricity, no education, no health. So they just want to get rid of them. Secondly, the biggest problem they have is the heavy influence of Iran as well as the USA in Iraq. People want to get rid of the influence of these two so that at least they can begin to sort out their own internal differences.
Well, let's now talk about some of those other influences on Iraq. Several oil multinationals are believed to be vying for lucrative oil and gas contracts in Iraq. Which countries do you think would be most likely to benefit from a more stable regime in the country?
I think everybody would benefit from a more stable regime. I think as far as the oil is concerned, unfortunately the government in Iraq is so corrupt, it's the third at the bottom of the list of the Transparency International. The corruption is so widespread, whether it's in the north or in the south. The Kurdish region is giving contracts to various companies on corruption basis. The central government is doing exactly the same thing. The idea is not one country who's going to benefit from that. Obviously, the USA have invested heavily in Iraq in terms of money and in terms of life, and they want something in return. They still have not got anything in return except destabilization in Iraq. But I think if there is a stabilized Iraq, probably the oil industry in Iraq can recover, and probably those who can give the Iraqis, whether they are Americans or Russian or Chinese. At the present moment, one of the major contracts there is a combination of the Chinese and the British Petroleum. So the combination is not on a national level, but on who pays more, who is going more on corruption, and who is rendering a better service.
OK, Mr. al-Mukhtar, many thanks for talking to us on this day when Iraqis do go to the polls. That was Sabah al-Mukhtar, president of the Arab Lawyers Association, talking to us live.
It's what Iraqis fear the most: massive bombings, scores of casualties. 3 large explosions within minutes of each other in 3 different locations. The center of Baghdad shook early Sunday. Authorities point the finger at the Baathists and al-Qaeda. Warnings of a possible escalation of violence have now become real. This was the site of one of the bombings near the Iranian embassy. The explosions have raised fears that Iraq may witness more of such attacks in the absence of political stability. It's the post-election period, and there was no clear winner. The car bomb right outside the gates of the Iranian embassy in the busy Salhiya neighborhood. Security forces have come in for criticism for failing to prevent such attacks. But they say they can't be blamed, since, in their words, it is hard to stop terrorists who are willing to kill. But they did say political stability, national reconciliation, and an end to foreign intervention would bring about security. Many Iraqis, however, have lost hope.
Why is this happening to us? We see women's clothes and children's shoes all over the place. Is this resistance? We were walking for hours. Streets were blocked. I was crying all the way. What did we gain from the elections? I voted. Should I cut my finger off?
2 other explosions went off in the Mansour district in west-central Baghdad, right outside the German and Egyptian embassies. There has been no claim of responsibility, like previous bombings in the capital. Some say the explosions are political messages and may be part of the negotiating process to form the next government.
التعنت من كل الأطراف. لقد شهدنا في هذه المرحلة الفائتة بعض التصرفات التي تشير إلى أنه ليس لدينا أي وطني وسياسي وأخلاقي تجاه بلدنا. يا أخي البلد يحترق ونحن في هذه المزايدات السياسية، ونحن نعاني من هذه المصائب التي حلت بالعراق. يا أخي العراقيين كلهم متفقون وكلهم متفاهمون، ولكن الظاهر أن ابتلينا لا نريد أن نذكر أسماء ولا نريد أن نشير إلى أي جهة، ولكن يا أخي هناك مطالبات بتنظيف الأجهزة الأمنية، بتطهير الدوائر من كافة مواطن الإرهابيين المتواجدين والمتغلغلين في هذه الدوائر. يا أخي يعني الدول سواء الإقليمية أو غير الإقليمية تتفرج علينا، ونحن نتناوش يعني نشهد مناوشات بيننا وبين الطوائف. شنو هو اللي حصل يا أخي؟ شنو اللي حصل بالعراق؟ ليش يا أخي؟ دعوة لكل السياسيين، دعوة لكل رجال الدين أن يخرجوا بتظاهرات تبين أن العراقيين متحدين جميعا. يا أخي مللنا من الدماء، مللنا من
نعم.
حقيقة يعني
شكرا لاتصالك، شكرا لاتصالك أبو نور من الناصرية، يعني اتصال أبو نور.